I mean, we've spoken about the game. We were live for the game. It was a wonderful spectacle of football. I think people have been a bit snide about Arsenal. I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the tactical fight. I enjoyed the way Arsenal set up. I thought it was a great game of football. It doesn't always have to be open, expansive football for me to enjoy it. But the biggest thing of the day is actually the Rodri news, isn't it?
Huge.
Yeah, it's bad, man. And the last 10 games without Rodri, there's 5 wins in 10. That's 50% win rate. It's even worse when you stretch out since he even joined the club. So basically, we basically don't even draw games. We either lose or win games to a 50% ratio when he's not playing.
But if you know those records, sometimes those records can be misleading. Sometimes maybe he missed games towards the end of the season when you'd already won, or maybe you were resting player. Or is that record...
In the last 2 years, he's never been rested.
It's games where you've needed to win that you haven't won when he's not in the team.
The win in the last 10 since 2023, the wins where he wasn't featured against League Cup opposition, Championship opposition, with all due respect. But I'm talking about when he's suspended, when he's had minor injuries in the Premier League. We can't buy a win when he's not on the side. It's very, very concerning. The issue is, as a City fan, it's a little bit greedy because you can just throw in Bernardo Silva, Ilkay Gundogan, Rico Lewis. I think the debate really is, does it make us favourites for the Champions League anymore? I think that's a big title that Guardiola wanted.
Does it keep you favourites for the league? Actually, before you answer that, Booth, Spencer, you don't have a dog in the fight. We kind of know where Miles and Buvey probably sit on it. With the Rodri news, with everything you know about Arsenal and Manchester City's impeccable record, changed your opinions on who wins the league off the back of the Rodri news?
Well, I mean, I actually did predict Arsenal to win the league before the season started, but now I think if you're an Arsenal fan, even though that goal that stopped you getting the win on the weekend would have hurt, I do think that you've got to have a massive bit of belief now. Yeah, and Arteta's got to really use it to sort of get that changing room going that we are going to win the league. And it's not nice to think, we're only going to win it because Rodri's injured, but it's just life. Arsenal, how many big injuries have Arsenal had over the years that have affected their season?
Of course.
City have probably only got... I'd say Rodri's more important than Haaland, actually, for City. Maybe they've got no Alvarez this year, so their firepower... Because when Haaland's been out of the team before, they've had Alvarez stepping in. Maybe you could argue Haaland would be a bigger miss now than he was last year. But for me, what happens with Rodri now is for the first time he's going to have an extended absence from the team. So when he's missed games before, it's been one game here or there. So you have to find a new way of playing when he's such a big part of that midfield. Yeah. Now, Pep, who's obviously a smart guy, he's going to go, right, maybe the problem is when Rodri's not there, we can't have someone else do the Rodri role. So we're going to reinvent the way we play again. Yeah. He's done time and time again. And we're not going to have a Rodri role. And we're going to have a Gundogan in there with John Stones stepping in or whatever it is he does, Rico Lewis. So I don't think it's as simple as saying their percentages about Rodri aren't good. It's Pep Guardiola here. But who'd heard of Pep? Who'd heard of Rodri?
Do you know what though, Spence? When you listen to Buvey talk about it there, and he flippantly, quickly just said some names, without giving it too much thought. But none of them can do what Rodri does. Not even close. It's not. Everyone knows how much I rate Bernardo Silva. It's not that he's not a good player, but he doesn't do the same thing of Rodri. There's no physicality. There's no presence. He's a beautiful footballer, one of the best in the league, one of the best in the world, in fact. But it's incomparable to Rodri. Ilkay Gundogan, again, marvellous footballer, but incomparable to the role.
But there's still a midfield there. If you gave Pep Guardiola the Man City squad from scratch and he didn't have Rodri in there, he'd still look at it and go, I think I can win the league with that squad. Yeah, maybe you say it's missing a sort of archetypal...
Do they not get bullied in midfield? Simple as that.
But they'll play differently, I think. He'll just find a different way.
Keep more of the ball. That's
this is where he earns his mustard. This is what he does. He goes, right, is that even a phrase, earns his mustard? I think I invented it maybe. But this is what he does. I'm not saying I think City will still do it. I think it's the best chance Arsenal have had in years. They've got to now drive forward. I know Odegaard's out for a little bit, but they haven't got that same big player missing.
Do you think you win the league now?
I think we've got more of a chance of winning the league now. Even when they did have Rodri, I still thought we still have a good chance of winning it. But obviously now him being out it's a big blow for Man City, and it's a gain for not even just Arsenal, probably Liverpool as well. They're probably looking at it from a side eye thinking, we could probably sneak in there. I do agree with Boothie when it comes to the Champions League front. Someone like Rodri, you need all your players for the Champions League, the top players, obviously to win it. You've won it once, you've won it twice. You guys know how hard it is to win that competition. When it comes to the Premier League now, I still think they've got enough to compete. I still think without Rodri, they're still better than most teams in the league. And I still think they're going to pick up most points.
Do you know why I think it's put you in real pole position? Similar to Spencer, I predicted Arsenal before the season as well. But the reason I think that you're now just should win the league, in fact, I would put the pressure on you and say you should, is because without Rodri, I feel like the points accumulation that you will need to win the league has dropped. So if Man City were to win the league with Rodri, let's pretend that they finish the season on 93 points. now Rodri isn't in the team, I think that the tally that you will need to win the league from an Arsenal perspective would have therefore been 94, which may have been beyond you. I think that Rodri's injury could cost Man City 5 points, which means that your tally to win the league will be 90, which is very much within your grasp. You hit 89 last year.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But at the same time, we was only 2 points behind them last season, and they had Rodri. So I feel like we've gotten not stronger, but we've added to our midfield and we've added to our defense. So we're going to be harder to break down, as Man City witnessed us just on the weekend. They struggled against a 10-man team.
Have I oversimplified that? You know my point there about the points tallies. What do you think?
No, I think the City side could definitely get 94, 95 without Rodri if the right system's in place. It's going to be hard, of course, but we won back-to-back Premier League titles without a striker before Erling Haaland got brought in to replace Aguero.
You didn't have a challenger the level of Arsenal then.
We had Liverpool, and I think that Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp for 7 years were far ahead of where this Arsenal side are in terms of belief. And I think the point about
it wasn't the same Liverpool though.
But they're a side that believed they could beat us. They certainly smashed us at Anfield multiple times. Came to the Etihad and tried to win the game. I think this Arsenal side, I don't see the belief in the game. I mean,
you can't say that, man.
The 2-2 draw 72 hours later feels like a loss for Arsenal still. I know Rodri's different, but I don't know. I think Liverpool's the great shout. I think Liverpool will be thinking we can actually usurp Arsenal and be the challengers to Man City's title this season.
So you don't think with Rodri being out and the result, what just happened on the weekend, you don't think, okay, Arsenal's got a good chance of winning this? You honestly believe that?
Slightly better, yeah. But it's for Arsenal to take.
Can you put a percentage on it?
I think it's probably the same. Because
it hasn't moved the needle for you at all, the Rodri injury.
No, the gap between us and we still have a gap between Arsenal. I think is still roughly the same. I don't think they surpass us massively.
I don't think we surpass you, but I think even when you had Rodri there, we was just thereabouts anyway. Now that Rodri's not there, I think that we're there. We're very there.
Booth, what did you think about Erling Haaland's message to Mikel Arteta about being humble?
Oh, good.
I loved it. And all the fans on Twitter, all the journalists saying he should have been maybe sent off retroactively or for the ball thing in the back of Gabriel's head.
They're very different. I was going to come on to that. They're very different. I know they're very different.
I know they're different behaviours. I'm saying his general kind of behaviour throughout the game, I think it is exactly what the Premier League needs. A little bit of, not bullying, but a little bit of needle, exactly. A little bit of passion. And I think the Premier League's been sterilised a little bit recently, and we overanalyse all these decisions. I think Haaland showed why he's the greatest striker in the world. He's this massive 6'5" Norwegian striker banging in goals. I think at points he did bully Arsenal.
No, he didn't bully Arsenal. He did bully Arsenal. But you know what the thing? He didn't bully us. The only thing, he had one opportunity and scored. Didn't bully us. He did nothing.
He bullied a couple of your lads.
You know he didn't bully
a couple of your lads.
And the reason why he did react like that, Rory, is because they know there's a rivalry now. This Arsenal team is not a pushover.
I agree.
And everyone else could see it. Man City fans, you're going to do what you have to do to think to yourself, they're still Arsenal. They haven't won anything, rightfully so. We haven't won anything. So we're still going to little boy them. But you know in your heart, Buvey, and I've been telling you for months, that this Arsenal team is here to stay.
I'm just talking about what I saw on the football
pitch. The players know it
We're
as well.
sat around a desk in London. I mean, it's completely not connected to what happened in the game. In the game, Arteta's mouthing off all game. Arteta rocks up to people at the end of the game, walks onto the pitch. He rocks up to Erling Haaland and he stops speaking. It's very symbolic, I think.
Symbolic for what? I think it's symbolic that Haaland says to him,
Arteta mouth
because he knows. Okay, cool.
And then he sees 6'5" Haaland, and he does. I didn't hear him say a single word until he ran off back into the changing room.
Interesting. I thought Erling Haaland.
Where was Haaland against 6'5" Gabriel and Saliba?
He scored it 8 minutes in.
The only thing I thought Erling Haaland did wrong, right? This is the only thing I thought he did wrong. I had no issue with launching the ball into the back of Gabriel's head. People do have a hump with that. I had no issue with that.
I don't care for it, but it's not
off the ball.
It's rubbish.
I think though,
shouldn't do it though.
You do that. If you're going to do that, you do that when you've just taken the lead. You don't do it when you just equalised. I know it's a massive goal and it's like last minute, the second of the game pretty much. But for me, it's like he should be running to the centre circle with the ball.
Yes.
No, it was so over when it was 98th minute.
I know,
so late. Well, he didn't kick off like that. Remember when the game kicked off, he went straight. He still believed there was something there for him.
Yeah.
So I think get your 3-2 winner, then you have a bit of fun with it. But you're celebrating a draw at home. Like
I think launching the ball, I don't mind, right? Saying to Lewis Skelly, who are you? I don't really mind that either. So
that's terrible, man.
That's
terrible.
You're rattled. They're rattled.
You're the one who seems rattled.
You would never.
The only thing you should have done, in my opinion,
you would never see Frank Lampard go to a kid on the sideline, even when they're in the title challenge, win all these titles.
He went up to Jurgen Klopp and said, "Who the F are you?" It's just no one would disrespect Lampard like that. Who's this Skelly kid?
What did he say to him?
He's a random kid without a photo on FIFA at the moment. He hasn't even got a photo.
And it's Skelly.
Seriously.
But if you're a top class act, you just look at these guys and think, "What's this guy on?"
Listen, I think
what he said.
You don't ask him who are you.
If you gave the Lampard example, Jurgen Klopp was mouthing off at Lampard, and Lampard was saying the same to him because he hadn't won a Premier League title at the same time.
Lampard said to him, "You've won one Premier League title, and you give it to the big one."
Exactly. Yes.
You've won one Premier League title, and you're giving it to the big one. Yeah. But with the Lewis Skelly, I think again, I've got no issue with Skelly having a pop at Haaland.
Yeah,
no issue with that. But then I've got no issue with Haaland going, "Who are you?" The one thing I think Haaland misjudged was the disrespect to Arteta.
100%.
That's the one. I don't have a problem with the Gabriel Ball. I don't have a problem.
Linked, though, like, and I like Haaland, and I think in general he does carry himself really well in his interviews and things, but I don't think you can be saying in one hand, stay humble, and then going to a kid, who are you? You're not showing much humility there yourself, are you? Do you know what I mean?
No.
It's a level of frustration. It's frustration. He's frustrated.
But he's not initiating it. If he goes up to him, you're bang on. If he initiates it, all these Arsenal players and managers were mouthing off. Skelly's the first Premier League player in history to get a booking before even making his debut. That's how much of a mouth off he is.
He still came on and put in a good performance.
Yeah,
so it doesn't
but
matter.
he got a yellow card before doing anything, which says a lot about this Arsenal side. They're some of the biggest time wasters the Premier League's ever seen. The biggest
we're not going to do
guys.
that.
But you are the biggest time
how many times
wasters,
have
the
we
most
seen your
gobby
keeper
football fans of all time.
How many times have we seen your goalkeeper time waste? And we see
but you've done it to a record level, by the way.
A lot of Man City's expertise over the years has been counterbalanced by these tactical fouls.
Yeah,
that Pep's been so good at.
Fernandinho.
It's the game.
I don't remember any of that. I don't know.
the fact that you know what I love though. I love the fact that he's moaning about time wasting and all these little fouls at his ground when we was 10 men down. When we had 10 men.
Yeah, but you were wasting.
You're nitpicking. You should just won the game. You should just won.
Time wasting is a problem in football. It's an entertainment problem. They're trying to counteract it with these longer injury times they're playing. They play 7 minutes. You score in the 7th minute, so you can't really complain about it.
Exactly.
I don't mind. Like, we're above Arsenal on the table. It's for Arsenal to catch up, and they've not won in a long time against City at the Etihad.
It's so tricky. Can I just get your final thoughts on this, Buvey? Man City's midfield in your next Premier League game that you have to win. You drop points in the last game, at home, you win your next game, right? Put the record straight. Back to winning ways. What's the midfield?
Ilkay Gundogan and Rico Lewis.
That's not good enough.
It is, but this is the point. This is why I said the Champions League point. You're right, what you said about the Champions League. Against Real Madrid, that will get found out, of course. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be too cocky about that. Against Brentford, Nottingham Forest, West Ham at home, with all due respect, these kind of sides. Most sides that rock
Newcastle away next.
Newcastle's hard.
What about that?
Of course it is.
That's a tough.
Newcastle away. So you think the midfield will be Gundogan Lewis?
Yeah, with Kyle Walker in behind. That's what I'd like.
I don't think you'll put Lewis in there. Not
is John Stones an option?
He's played all season in midfield, so there's a good chance
Not
he'll play in
Newcastle
midfield.
Though. That midfield is too strong. Joe Linton, and they've got
someone in there.
They've got Bruno G in there. He's good enough. Don't get me wrong.
But who else is it then? I don't. Mateus Nunes can't play that deep in my opinion.
You got Kovacic. Why don't you put him? You got Kovacic.
Okay,
there?
I'm being biased. I don't want Kovacic starting the game, but that's just me.
Yeah,
I think what Spencer said in terms of Guardiola finding a solution.
Yeah.
I hope it isn't Kovacic necessarily, and putting all of our eggs in the Kovacic basket, and hoping that Gundogan we can do something with Rico Lewis.
Do you know what my issue with? Obviously, I want you to win the league. I think you'll win the league, but I want you to win the league. Do you know what my issue is with the midfield that you seem to favour, and you and I kind of go back on this a lot. There's no physicality.
No,
I know that Gundogan's a brilliant player. You know how much I love Bernardo Silva. Rico Lewis, sensational. There's just no presence.
Yeah.
And sometimes in football, what you just need Michael Ballack to beat someone up.
That's where John Stones could come into it,
Yes,
as he has done before.
He's fit.
Without Rodri, maybe he feels that he needs a John Stones in there. And
Can he start there though? Because
is he a good enough footballer? Is he actually a good enough footballer to play this isn't moving into midfield. This is being a midfielder.
He won't play DM. He won't start as a DM. He'll float in there potentially. John Stones, the injury record is a little bit troubling. So I wouldn't see that one as an option. Rico Lewis just moves the ball tidy. If you can't get the ball off us, it don't matter how tall you are. So I think Guardiola will revert back to more of a possession-based, less physical kind of setup, hopefully. And maybe that means Haaland doesn't play as much
I was just
football.
about to say, does
it's
that
a false
nullify
nine? Foden is a false nine, and you play 6 small, diminutive lads that will nick the ball around. That's what I think could happen as well.
Listen, if there's any manager that can figure out, it's Pep Guardiola.
Exactly,
we all know that.
I'll tell you what, that game is going to be fascinating to watch.
Against Newcastle?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. That's a physical team.
the game we're
that
doing
whole
this
team's
weekend?
physical.
Hope so.
So do I.
Yeah, it's the first. It's 12.
No,
It's
Man United
12:30.
Spurs.
It's 12:30 kickoff. It's the first game on Saturday morning.
It'll be interesting as well if we do see City drop points a little bit over the next few months. Will he go into the window in January and say, right, I need to go and buy a Rodri, 2.0, because he's not going to be, well, by all accounts, he's going to be out for a while. Right?
Yeah, it would depend. If they're 2 points behind Arsenal by the time the January transfer window opens, you could see it, couldn't you?
Recall
How many
Calvin
times?
Phillips.
Not that.
How many times have we seen City be more than 2 points off and then just turn it on? You know, in the last, they're going to do that again, and they might even have Rodri for the run-in, maybe.
No, he's definitely out all
You think
season.
he's not gonna make it?
Arsenal needs to be 10 points clear by January to have a chance.
10 points
10.
clear.
No, they need to be. They do for their own belief.
We don't even
They
need
need to
to
double
be.
bank it. Most sides,
I'll be a point.
Ferguson would need 4
I'll
or
be
5
a
points.
point ahead
Mourinho
of
would
you.
need 2 points.
That
This Arsenal
result-
side need 15 points to be 100% confident.
Like Spence said, that result, even though we didn't get the win, and if we got the win, it would have been galvanizing for the team, would have been amazing. But we just know 10 men at Man City and you did nothing.
Well, we got a last
we just
minute
know,
draw,
Arsenal fans
and now
know.
we're above you in the table still.
Arsenal fans know it's 5 games into the season. We just went
Yeah.
away to Tottenham. We went away to
If the
Villa.
Premier
and we
League
went away to
ended
you.
now-
3 away games
If
in
the
the
Premier
past.
League ended right now,
And we're only
you
2
wouldn't
points
win the
behind.
Premier League title.
Huh? Okay, 5 games in.